Hi guys, I hope everyone is doing great. I decided to make this video because there's been some conversations, people asking me like about, okay, when you're done with school, or are you just gonna go ahead and try to do a PhD and everything. But here are some few reasons why I will not be doing a PhD after my master's program. The first reason is you don't just do a PhD because you're having pressure from your friends or from your family to do a PhD. You see, the reason another reason I also don't want to do a PhD is because normally there isn't that much of a difference between a PhD and a master's. If you're doing it for in terms of like being interested in better pay, then trust me, there would not be too much of a difference between what someone with a master's degree and someone with a PhD would be earning. Yeah, there might be a difference of about 200, 300,000. Yeah, in Cameroon, for example. Yeah, but so to me, that is not worth the stress of 5 years, because the other thing now is this: the mental stress that comes with having to pursue a PhD. Doing a master's is already very stressful enough. You know, there are times when I practically don't have a social life. I have to be very isolated. I have to focus on my studies. I have to do a lot of reading and writing. It consumes a lot of time just at a master's level. And at PhD level, you are 90% almost on your own, because now the idea is that you have mastered whatever you did already at master's level. So I don't think it is really worth it. And then the other thing is, I also was I realized that one of the reasons I wanted to do a PhD was just because I was interested in like having the title doctor. But I realized that it's not enough reason to just want to do a PhD just so that you can have a fancy title. And doing a PhD, there's a lot of, you don't just you can't just go from like, because I've been studying for the past 3 years. I started with a diploma, and then I got an honors degree, and then I'm doing a master's now. And then to go again straight into another 3 or 5 years of a PhD, it's just something that I cannot afford to do. The truth is that there are other things in life that you want to do as well. Besides, your whole life you will not spend it just going to school, and then studying for a PhD that you don't really know the reason for it. Most PhDs are supposed to be done if you want to become a researcher in that particular field, or if you want to be a university lecturer. So if you're not looking to become a university lecturer, if you're not interested in anything academics like teaching or anything like that, then trust me, there is no point in you wanting to do a PhD. Yeah. And if you want to do a PhD, normally it comes with a lot of experience. You cannot just go ahead and do like just move from masters and straight into a PhD. I mean, you could do that, but the truth is that your PhD would be very shallow, because what experience, what work experience, what expertise do you have to contribute to that particular area? You would basically be very shallow, and I don't want to do something like that. So maybe I could work for about 5 or 10 years, and then along the line I would decide, okay, I want to do a PhD, you know, and that would be something else. But as of now, I'm not interested in doing a PhD. I'm not interested in having a fancy title. I'm not going to sacrifice my mental health and my social life just so that I can do something to try to prove something to society. Because basically, sometimes when you're doing a PhD, it's because you're trying to prove to people that, I mean, if you already have your undergraduate degree and all of those other qualifications, I think you've proved quite a lot. Okay, because come to think of it, having a PhD, in fact, if anything, is going to scare most employers, because they're going to be like, no, we can't, we really cannot pay you. That's if you're doing it for the money anyway. Yeah, most people would look at it and they would prefer to hire somebody with a master's or somebody with an undergraduate degree and commensurate experience. Yeah. So for me, those are the reasons that I've chosen not to do a PhD, at least for now. I'm not interested in doing a PhD, first because the mental health that comes with it is just too demanding. The mental stress is a lot. And then secondly, oh, another thing I was forgetting is like there's the whole part of the finances, because when you're doing a PhD, it's not like you're just going to, especially if you're self-funded, because some fields don't have a lot of funding to do PhDs in those programs. Like if you are studying in the humanities, you know that almost everybody these days is studying geography or literature or history or sociology or things like that. So you would hardly have scholarships for subjects like that. So you would need to think of how you would be funding yourself, if you're especially if you're studying out of the country, because even in the country, even in Cameroon, it's not cheap. So think about things like that. Think of the finances, think of the mental stress that you would go through. There are people that have literally had mental breakdowns and suffered from burnout because the demands have been too much for them. So when you want to think of doing a PhD, think of all these aspects, and then ask yourself if it is something you really want to do. Yeah, and ask yourself if you would have a PhD that you are not able to like really defend whatever it is that you're saying that you have a PhD in that subject. Then ask yourself if this is something you want to do. But at the end of the day, it's really your choice. Yeah, if you feel that this is something you want to do, go ahead and you do it. But also remember that um, if you're a young person and you don't have the experience, you don't have the finances, then just remember that the cons are far more than the pros. And if that is something you want to do, but for me, I'm not going to be doing a PhD anytime soon.